Hello, I'm Phil and a warm welcome to Festool TV. So working with the KAPEX KS120 set version means I can have the machine sitting on the UG stand at 900mm in height, which is a great height to work at. But I can also work with the leg extensions on the left and also on the right hand side. And these are really easy to fit onto this profile on the side. So now we can fit the leg onto the left-hand side, and we use a single leg on these extensions because if you're on rough ground, it's much easier to level them off. So now that the legs are fitted onto the saw, it means I can support longer lengths of timber and I can work on these really securely and of course accurately. But with both of the left and the right hand extensions, if I undo this screw at the back, it then means that we can pull out the extension bars and then I can support greater lengths of timber, but we can also work really accurately because of the scale along this edge. And if I want to make repeat cuts, I can then use this stop, so I can set the stop into the position that I want to cut, and then I can make repeat cuts time after time, and I can produce really accurate work. But the KAPEX KS120, we can also use another feature on the saw, and this is for cutting joints such as housings as well, with the limited depth of stop feature. So currently, in this position, the saw will cut all the way through the timber, but when I bring this green lever down, it will now limit the depth of cut that I need to make. If I turn this clockwise, I can then raise the head. If I turn it anti-clockwise, I can then lower ahead, so I can vary the depth of cut that I'm going to be working with. So the next stage is to show you how you can work with this, and I can use a small example to show you how we can make a door lining joint. So with the example here, I can now show you how to set this type of work out. There's a couple of things we need to adjust on the saw as well. So currently, if I decided to cut down and through the timber with the limited depth of stop into position, it would mean that I wouldn't complete the cut and I would end up with a small scallop line on the back of the cut. So the way around this is that we can use a piece of timber at 50mm in width and we can clamp this up against the fence. So now with that in position, I've brought the area of cut forward, and now when I cut through, it means my housing will be flat all the way along the joint and we can produce some really accurate work. So on here, I've already marked out where the pencil line is, and this is going to be my depth of cut, and the mark on the inside of here is going to be where my shoulder line is. So this part is the leg of the door lining, so now I can set the saw to this depth, to this pencil line, so I can get my depth of cut exactly spot on. So I can bring the head of the saw down. Now with this limited depth of stop in position, as soon as I turn this, I can now line up exactly the pencil line with the base tooth of the blade. So now that's in the right position, and on top I can now switch the laser on, and now I can line up the laser with the pencil line here, and now I can get a really accurate shoulder line for the work that I'm carrying out. And so the next stage is to make the repeat cuts all the way through until we clear the material away. So that's the first part of the joint cut. I've got a really nice accurate line all the way along here, and of course an accurate shoulder line. So the next stage is to transfer this distance onto the next piece of timber. So the pencil mark here represents my overall width, and now all I need to do is to line these two up, add on the second pencil mark, and then we can go back onto the saw and start to make the cuts for the housing. And I can quite easily check the depth of my cut All I need to do is to set the saw to this pencil line here, and then after that, we can then take the rest of the material away. So the depth is fine, and now I can bring the saw I can now bring the laser line up onto where the pencil mark is, and now we can make the cuts all the way through. So now we've got really flat housing on the base of the head of the door lining, we can now bring the two halves together. So the two halves together, you can see that we can produce really high quality work by using the KAPEX KS120 to produce limited depth of cut joints such as this example door lining. So I hope this has helped your understanding of working with the KAPEX KS120, and I'll see you again on the next presentation.